9. So looking at just September, the statewide average temperature ranks, just what stands out to you? Go ahead, just anything.
The
Well,
western U.S. is warm.
and
The
yeah,
middle, Texas into Kansas is a little cool, not by much. Um, the New England states slightly warm. The rest of the country average. But California, Oregon are obviously the eye catchers.
and I wrote something down. I got it from the website to parallel that. It said above to much above average September temperatures were observed across much of the West, parts of the Northeast and Gulf Coast. California and Oregon ranked warmest on record for the month, with Nevada and Arizona ranking second warmest. And then also the fact that during this time we're having like the most active wildfire season on record, and just the
Yeah.
fact that how many acres have burned. I mean, there's fires in California, not as extreme, but now the location is Colorado. There's the largest
Oh,
Colorado wildfires.
Zach Labe is now doing his postdoc in Colorado. He's in Fort Collins, and he's basically saying the air is unbreathable.
Are you
He's like
serious?
choking there. And
Oh
so
my
while he's
God.
tweeting out what's going on with the Arctic sea ice, he's literally gagging under all that smoke and ash in Colorado.
Isn't that amazing? And you would think, I did a story on that just last week or so, and just the fact that the largest wildfire was recorded, and now just this week, I think they have another one. It's called
They got a
troublesome
new
fire.
they got a new term for it. They now call them gigafires
Yeah.
because they're burning 1,000,000 acres.
And this going back, you've mentioned before, I mean, the season of Australia, and now we go to the northern hemisphere and we're having similar issues. Okay. It's
You've got
wild.
pyrocumulus clouds forming. You got pyro tornadoes forming. You've got now they're calling gigafires where you're burning 1,000,000 plus acres.
Right.
And Australia, Africa, those fires in Africa, South America, North America, Siberia, the whole freaking planet is burning up. And last year was Scandinavia and Alaska. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
it's mind-boggling. And especially I read that even with the extreme temperatures, so like these fires in Colorado are lasting through snowstorms.
Yeah. And that's, I
Okay.
did that video where talking about what, people zombie fires. It's not scientific. I don't use that term. I use the term holdover fires because that's what the fires are doing. Even with the winter months, the fires still at least smolder underneath all that
Right.
snow. And because the ground's already been dried out, so when all that stuff melts, it just boom, bang, flares right back up again. And you got this crazy, so it's now at the point where it takes something like California. I think the fire season is going to be year round.
Absolutely. It is. I want to say it is. And now I feel like it's intruding into other states. Um,
Probably. I mean,
yeah, so
so you're going to have a BOE that lasts a year, so no ice in the Arctic Ocean at all, along with the West Coast at risk for having fires any day of the year,
and lack
any
of
day of the
water.
year,
Yeah, it's just
and the
wild.
lack of water. And the thing is, you're also it's a very strong La Nina now, or moderately strong La
Right.
Nina. That tends to bring drought conditions. And if you're already in a drought, so that will exacerbate your drought conditions.
And this is just 1 year. I mean, I feel like the West Coast has been much above average, and you got Florida, but just looking at this graphic again, I mean, it's just, I think last month, I know we had to, something happened to our video, I'll say. A lot of other states had their record warmest August. I want to say California did too. So, it's just all these, if records are being broken in 2020, I've always think, okay, well, what's the next year's? But it's just amazing. Um,
2020, a year that keeps giving.
oh my God. So going to number 2, just looking at the precipitation percent of average for the individual month of September with all the wildfires. I know the Gulf was dealing with
I mean,
some hurricanes, but
immediate is California, Nevada, and western Arizona.
that's where I am, Jim. Help me.
I mean, you're already in a drought and you're getting no precipitation.
Oh my God, I remember earlier this year, real quick, that February, California had like the driest February. So go ahead. Yeah, we're not doing
Yeah,
good.
I mean, so you're only going to exacerbate things. You're going to, remember if there's a drought, you have dry air above. Dry air is going to suck more moisture out of the ground, so the ground gets drier and drier and start cracking. So that makes the ground more prone to, you guessed it, going up in flames.
So
So,
essentially,
and
yeah,
you look, okay, you see the spots where it was wet, like in Texas, Louisiana, and like Alabama, Georgia, whatever. That's because you had a couple things called hurricanes come through.
right up the Mississippi too. Oh,
Yep.
and yeah, on the border of Louisiana, I think, and Texas. Yeah, so that region.
Yeah, I mean, so you had a couple of wet spots there due to some, tropical storm activity, making it to that portion of the continent. And the interesting thing is, up in uh, northwest Washington State, it was a little wet, but for the most part, Illinois, uh, what that was, Wisconsin there, yeah, it was in Iowa, it was a little wet there, but most of the country was dry.
Which is
Which,
okay, go
when you
ahead.
couple that with the La Nina, is is to be expected.
Okay. And yeah, the dark brown is just like record levels of dryness. I know we've talked about the mega drought issue,
Yeah,
civilization ending mega drought.
so you're going to have the La Nina, you're going to have a lack of precipitation all coupled together with this extreme drought condition. It's making for precarious conditions, and it's something to be concerned about, definitely for sure.
I
You
definitely
know,
understand that there's an issue, yeah, with the water here. Um,
I'm
yeah.
guessing that people are not allowed to water their lawns.
I haven't heard anything. I don't have a lawn, but I know I haven't heard anything. So I don't even know if the California is even restricting
It should.
yet.
I mean,
It
really.
should.
Well, first of all, it makes no sense to, like, you move out to the west and go, let's plant Kentucky bluegrass.
I know, Jen.
Kentucky
It's the
bluegrass is not
suburbia
that's not the
stuff.
place for Kentucky bluegrass.
It's suburbia. I hate to say it, but they have all like
Yeah,
the picture perfect grass, like that whole 50s thing, you know.
things are changing, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And you're going to soon start creating climate refugees. And then, with you're warming up the Arctic, so you're going to increase, the glacier melt, whether from Greenland or Antarctica. Sea levels are going to start rising. And what people lose sight of is okay, so how much of the coastal areas will be, you know, impacted? It's not just coastal areas. If you've got a major river feeding into somewhere like the Mississippi or the Amazon, sea level rise will go up the river valleys.
You're right, Jim.
It'll go
And the
up the river
saltwater
valleys
intrusion.
and fill up the drainage basin.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
North American continent during the Jurassic, it was split in two by an inland sea. New Mexico was beachfront property.
Damn it. I know. And we're going towards like that type of, even beyond that climate, I want to say. I know it's hard, you said, like to look back at those times, but just in general, like,
So that's something people say. They say, "Oh, it's going to rise up along the coastal areas and the Maldives." Oh well, we'll just write off the Maldives. Well, it's not fair to the people who live there. But the sea level rises. Water's going to find the path of least resistance. You got a low-lying, river drainage system. It's just going to go fill that in.
I feel like that's why a lot of hurricanes go towards like New Orleans. Like it's it's always like going towards that region, like the Mississippi up the river. But yeah, you said the saltwater intrusion, like it's coming.
So basically, what's going to happen is you're going to take like the Mississippi Delta as an example, use a big estuary down that way. Same thing with the Chesapeake, whatever. You're just going to take the estuary and move it inland on the continent, because
Yeah,
the
but
salt
that's
water and the freshwater mixing will take place further north in the case of the Mississippi.
But just real quick, I mean, what does that do? That the climate refugee issue, right? Like that's.
Oh yeah, you're going to create millions of climate refugees. You're going to impact groundwater, so that the groundwater may no longer be potable, because it'll become brackish, which is not drinkable. So unless you suddenly erect a whole bunch of desal plants, which is energy intensive, so it's going to it's going to impact the Oglala. It's going to impact the farmlands. You're probably not going to have farmlands, really. It's, yeah.
And that's one of the points just from your video, right? Just the lack of agriculture land and crops and that whole issue. I mean, we look at these graphs, but I mean, day to day, these are very severe situations. So
I mean, people who look at my videos will probably think I'm some sort of crazy alarmist here. It's like,
no,
you're
speaking the
this is the
truth.
data, folks. This is the data. This is what it's telling us. We have to pay attention.
Exactly. Just looking at the first 9 months of the year, and we can look when the whole year is over, just what happened. But it's still pretty red. There's no blue. This entire year is above average, really.
Except for Oklahoma and Arkansas. That's it. And northeastern Texas. But yeah, pretty much everything is warmer than usual, and quite so.
And yeah,
which
just
is
the overall trend, there's no blue.
No, there isn't.
Speaking of Utah, okay, it had the record dry. Oh, it's so far this year, it's the record driest. So that's
wow, that's surprising. That more so than Cal.
I thought so too.
That's kind of surprising. But I guess they're looking at for the 9 months. Did you have a lot of snow earlier in the year? I don't remember you.
I don't think so.
Rain, anything like that?
There was some rain, but it was in Southern California, not Northern California, which is where they need it. Well, we all need it, but sorry, there's a witching laugh outside. Okay. This is a crazy laugh. Okay. Jeff.
It shows how the West is really dry. Is what it shows.
The Four Corner states, Wyoming, Nevada. The deserts are getting drier, really, and just goes back to the mega drought, but this is the data to back that up. Let's see.
Seeing the northeastern states, the New England area being on the drier side is interesting. And then you get into the mid-Atlantic and the southern states, and it was wet. Well, they had a couple thing called storms come through. So that's not surprising. But
and they're on
I can't say I'm overly surprised by these results, except for Utah being so dry.